Assassin's Creed is all about giving players the thrill of leaping into history and reliving pivotal moments of our past. It has already been 15 years since Altair and the first Assassin's Creed game welcomed you to the Brotherhood in 2007. Today marks the beginning of our celebrations. For the months to come, we prepared surprises, unexpected collaborations, rewards, community activities, and more. We want to celebrate our 15th anniversary with you and all the people that share their passion for our franchise. Whether you want to relive your first Assassin's Creed memories, get involved in the celebrations, or learn more about the future of the brand, we'll get you covered in the months to come. Exciting news about Assassin's Creed starts now, with an update on what's to come in Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Launching Assassin's Creed Valhalla and expanding upon its story and gameplay throughout the first year has been an incredible adventure. After 2 story expansions that saw Ivor battle against a druidic cult in Ireland, and then throw themselves into the Siege of Paris and war-torn Francia, we dove into Norse mythology with our ambitious 3rd expansion, Dawn of Ragnarok. With Assassin's Creed crossover stories, we even brought back a surprise visitor from the past, who joined up with Ivor to fight a mysterious curse in the Isle of Skye.
I'm glad you invited me here tonight.
On top of this narrative content, since launch, we've added several free game modes and activities to the world of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, for the first time in the franchise, we're offering a 2nd year of free post-launch content with our returning festivals, Mastery Challenge Pack 2, an Armory update, and new tombs to explore this fall to close the mystery behind Tombs of the Fallen. But that's not all. This summer, we're offering a unique take on Assassin's Creed gameplay. It is my pleasure to present the first look at our latest and most ambitious game mode, The Forgotten Saga, which will be free to all Assassin's Creed Valhalla players.
You do well to hide behind your monsters, daughter of Loki!
So, you're going back to Niflheim?
As many times as it takes. It is time to go to hell. Each time you cast me out will only make me stronger!
We're excited for you to experience this summer a new roguelite-inspired journey into Niflheim, the spectacular realm of the dead. And stay tuned until the end of the year for one last surprise. We will reveal the last episode of Ivor's story as a free chapter for all players as well.
In Assassin's Creed, history has always been our playground, and Discovery Tour is the ideal game mode to discover and learn, with content free of violence and tailored for learning. It is perfectly suitable for all audiences, including schools. For the Assassin's Creed Valhalla team, immersing players in the long-gone world of the Vikings and the Saxons has been a driving passion. Encouraged by feedback from teachers and students, we are proud to take a new step in facilitating access to learning by releasing today a standalone version of Discovery Tour Viking Age for Xbox and PlayStation consoles, as well as Stadia and Luna streaming platforms. We're also honored to be partnering with McGill University in Canada to develop curriculum guides for teachers and students available online for free to help them make the most of Discovery Tour Ancient Egypt, Ancient Greece, and Viking Age as learning tools for the classroom. We want to celebrate our 15th anniversary with you by releasing a free title update that our community has been passionately asking for. 60 frames per second support for Assassin's Creed Origins is now available. Experience Ancient Egypt under the reign of Cleopatra, now in 60 FPS on Xbox and PlayStation next-gen consoles. To celebrate with all of our players, we will be hosting a free weekend for Assassin's Creed Origins from June 16th to June 20th. The beautiful world of ancient Egypt is a great place to start revisiting and celebrating past Assassin's Creed games. Our 15th anniversary is about rewarding you for your incredible support. To get started, several sets of Assassin's Creed Origins tattoos, along with a naval pack, will be available this week in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Right now, head to our anniversary website and learn more on how to get involved with the celebrations. Take part in our weekly challenges for a chance to earn prizes and share your favorite Assassin's Creed memories by using hashtag AC15 as we leap into history. Join us this September as we unveil the future of Assassin's Creed during a very special event. We can't wait to show you what's in store.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Assassin's Creed 15th Anniversary Celebration event. My name is Yusuf. I'll be one of your hosts today. I'm joined by my co-host, Chassie Vicencio. Chassie, how are you today?
Hey, I'm excited. That was very exciting stuff. So I'm happy to be here to celebrate Assassin's Creed with all of you. And we have a special guest, Yusuf.
Oh, yes, we do. We are joined by Assassin's Creed producer, Jose Ariza. Jose, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This is exciting and thrilling all at once.
Yes, we are very happy to be showcasing all the news and announcements that y'all just saw. But we're also going to be hanging out with y'all for a little bit right now and showing off the Assassin's Creed Origins 60 frames per second boost. We're playing it right now. As you can see, I am riding on the back of my camel on the way to Alexandria. Jose, this game was already beautiful, silky smooth. The 60 frames per second boost just makes it doubly more so. It feels so good to play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting. I just reloaded it into my console. I started playing it again, and it's amazing just seeing it sort of refreshed and I don't know. There's a certain elegance to it. The desert, the grandiosity of it. It's pretty awesome to see it in 60 frames and see how beautiful it looks.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, I haven't been back to Egypt, in quite some time now. I think it's been about like 2 years since I've played Origins, and it just feels so good to be back. I started a new game plus here. You can see I'm already level 55.
Yeah, you've already
awesome.
played plenty of this game, so now you're jumping back into New Game Plus.
Yes, exactly.
As one does. Yeah, but it looks beautiful. Jose, so let's celebrate this game, celebrate Assassin's Creed. So yeah, Origins. Tell us about your role on this game. You were a producer.
God, that feels like a lifetime ago. So at that point, I believe I was associate producer, and I was in charge of basically being the liaison with all other co-dev studios. It was a massive production, and it was my pleasure to be able to work with all the studios that were participating. Sofia, Singapore, Bucharest. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. Sorry, but it's been it's been quite a while, and it was amazing being part of this production. It was also officially my first full Assassin's Creed production, as I had just joined the studio, and it was amazing, being part of this entire production with so many awesome, talented people, passionate people. It was also a really interesting time of the franchise, obviously re-envisioning what Assassin's Creed would be for the future. So it was thrilling and nerve-wracking, to say the least.
I imagine there must have
Absolutely.
been a lot of excitement and maybe internal pressure that you were feeling of bringing the game back, the brand back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Assassin's Creed is beloved by players around the world, right? And there's a certain expectation of what the brand is, what the brand, the tenets, the pillars of the brand. It was really fascinating trying to find out how do we bring Assassin's Creed into an open world? How do we give agency to the players of how they play it, how they consume, and there were so many changes. It's funny watching it right now. It feels like, yeah, of course, this is exactly how it should have been. For the player perspective, maybe, this feels like, yes, of course. Why would it be anything other than this? But when you're on the other side of, pre-production, production, asking all those questions of, what is the DNA of the brand? What is really Assassin's Creed? The areas where we could experiment or not, or evolve the brand, and certain things that we absolutely wanted to keep. So yeah, it was fascinating. It was preserving the DNA while evolving at the same time.
Speaking that, as long as you talk about DNA, my favorite thing and the one thing to me that I never get tired of in Assassin's Creed is these sync points. And so as long as these are here, I'm always going to be a happy camper. It's just one of my favorite things. I never get tired of them, even after doing them, in across every AC, so many times. It's, to me, nothing showcases what the verticality, the beauty of AC like those.
Yeah, even that's a perfect point, right? People assume that sync points are always there. They're a given. They're hit the easy button and it's done. But even within the context of Egypt, right? Like saying, how do we want the camera to move? Oh my God, now we're in a massive open world and you can see very far into the background. Making sure that it was the right camera movement, the right speed, all these little things that players don't see. We had to like reassess under this open world scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way,
say that.
Sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say, by the way, I noticed that my camera is really bright. This is obviously to be in the desert.
Bathed in light.
Yeah. It's I'm in the desert.
He's coming to us live from Alexandria. That's
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Also, yes, we are live. We can see the chat, so if you have any questions about AC Origins for Jose, drop them in the chat and we'll ask them. So yes, we do see you, and Yusuf is playing in real time right now, so that is happening. We are playing this AC Origins in 60 FPS on PS5. It's also available on Xbox Series X and S, so you can jump into that. And if you missed that video earlier, there's a free weekend coming for AC Origins, June 16th to the 20th. So if you haven't played or want to jump back in, go for it on Xbox and PlayStation next-gen consoles and play 60 FPS. But yeah, we are live, so if you have questions, please let us know in the chat. But Jose, I'll start with a question for you. So I saw an internal interview with you at Ubisoft, and you said your best memory was working here was E3 2017, and you said getting AC Origins into people's hands for the first time. So can you tell me more about that and what that moment was like?
Yeah, let me see if I can vocalize it right. The production had already been going, I think, for 3 years at a time, and everybody was working really hard to re-envision, to move the brand, to evolve the brand into this new open world. There's a lot of changes that went into this. We went from a mission-driven system to a quest-driven system that you could consume however you wanted. There were so many changes that went into this, and obviously the people that work in the brand love the brand, they love Assassin's Creed, and is sort of doing this meditation of everything we wanted to bring into Origins. And obviously every choice we made was because we really truly felt, every director, every producer, everybody in the team, that really felt that was the right choice, the right thing to do, but nobody had seen it. So for me specifically, being part of that E3, doing the private demos, there was this moment of exhilaration that you're happy to share what the team has been working on. And especially for me, I was thrilled to be able to be on the floor, to give the demos, to represent the team and the directors and everybody. And it's a huge honor to be part of the brand and to represent everybody's hard work and talent. But on the other hand, it was nerve-wracking. Nobody had seen it.
Only imagine.
Nobody knew what it was. Yeah. And you give the controller to a player. A lot of them are media. A lot of them are streamers, YouTuber, some celebrities even. We're in LA at E3. And there's this moment that you're super proud, you're super excited, you want to show it. But also a part of you is saying, "Oh my God, please like it." And we hope that you see what we see. We hope that this really our vision translates and is able to be understood by people. And those very first demos that I gave, it was phenomenal. That fear, but also you're looking, you give the controller to somebody and you're looking at them and you're like, yeah, no, yeah,
It's like So are you like just directly looking? Are you kind of looking away, or just like nervous about that? That sounds
Well,
very nerve
in
wracking.
some
Yeah.
in some cases, some people say, no, no, you drive. I want you to see you play it. You
Yeah,
also get
yeah,
some of the media people that are so stoic, and you're playing, you're explaining, and then they're total poker face, just like, and you
yes.
don't know, like, are you loving it? Are you hating it?
Yeah.
And at the same time, as we progress, giving more demos, uh, I think there was one person that actually said, "You've given me the Assassin's Creed that I never knew I wanted, and it's phenomenal." Uh,
Oh my gosh.
you can probably see me getting a little emotional because it was so amazing just being there and seeing people say, "This is exactly." I didn't know I wanted this, but this is exactly what it should be. Giving the demos also, you noticed all the NPCs. We had the smart, the Meta AI network, having the same demo or having people play the exact portion of the game but seeing different results, seeing different enemies, the wildlife. At some point I think it was an alligator and a hippo get into a fight, and the guy's like, oh, was that supposed to happen? And I said, no, honestly, I've never seen that. I don't know what events happened for those two animals to be in that location and fight, but it was nerve-wracking, and it was amazing, and it was such a communal sigh of relief and saying, yes, we did deliver. Yes, people agree with our vision. We still held the pillars of the brand, the DNA, and yeah, it was I think cathartic. It was a very cathartic moment for me, and it was also my first Assassin's Creed production, right? So for me, there was also that element of I'm joining sort of at this time of change, at this nexus of change, and you're thinking, God, please, I hope it goes well. I hope that
That's an
you know
exciting time to join, though. Yeah, that sounds like an ideal time to join
exciting, and also
almost.
yeah, and also terrifying, right?
Sure.
Sure.
We always do our best work, hoping that everybody would love it, hoping that everybody will be entertained. It's sort of that saying that nobody has an ugly baby, right? So it's that moment where you show people the baby, and you're like, I hope people like the baby.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
I love this scene so much. It's our first introduction to Aya here,
Oh, I is great.
and like I think to me, like, it was just so cool seeing a husband and wife that were like in love and had, like, obviously, they are on a quest to avenge the death of their son, but it was a healthy relationship, and I feel like that's something that's so rare to see in games.
Yeah, and it's amazing also that you get to see the trajectory of from the past to the present, if you want to say to the future, when you meet them again in the Hidden Ones. Uh, and we were so attuned to their relationship that we felt, in the Hidden Ones, we needed to acknowledge, right? They have that moment where we're sort of them saying, you know what, it's okay, we did well.
Yeah.
But seeing that trajectory, and it's funny because it wasn't a big speech, it wasn't melodramatic. It was just a moment where I feel, and I hope that we captured that the journey as a couple, as people, as human beings that they had, and in the end, just saying, you know what, we don't need to give a big speech. We're okay. We're cool.
Yeah. That's actually it's. I'm so happy you bring that up. That is one of my favorite moments in gaming. Period. It's just after Bayek and Aya have been separated at the end of the game, and them coming back together and reuniting there for that moment. And there's a shot where their foreheads touch, and like they embrace, and like it fills my heart every time.
It's super nice to hear you say that. I know the narrative team worked really hard to give value to that moment without being giving over exposition of what the player should or should not be feeling, or what Bayek and Aya should be feeling. So it was that subtlety, I think, was represented throughout the game, right? Carrying the spectrum of emotions of Bayek's quest, his motivations, Aya's motivation, the rift between them, all these little things that we want the player to be emotionally connected to.
Right. Yeah, I think it was a complete success, at least for me. That's my opinion on it.
No,
Ooh,
agreed. Very strong story. Just their relationship is just something you don't forget from this series. It's just so well written.
we get the first hidden blade.
Yeah, I'll show it.
Ooh, be careful.
Don't point that at your face. Oh,
There you go.
there you go. There you go.
I will go to the palace and discover who uses the seal of the snake.
It's funny too, Jose. You know, you were saying earlier, you know, you were talking about showing this game to people for the first time, and them, you know, saying, "Oh, this isn't," you know, I didn't realize this is what I wanted, but it's exactly what I wanted. I had a slightly similar but slightly different impression of when Origins was first announced and when we first got to play it. It was also, you know, at the very beginning of my Ubisoft journey here. But the way I don't think I've actually told you, I happen to be Egyptian. And so Origins is always the game I wanted, but never actually thought I would ever get. And then
you were not the only one.
Yeah,
that was a top request by the fans. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I think even more so, you know, as you were talking about the new you know, quest system and how much was put into. Actually, I don't think I'm going the right way. How much was put into the culture, the time period, the setting. To me, it felt like a game that so wholeheartedly embraced Egypt and its people. You know, not only of the time, but you know, the location itself, and it was everything I could have hoped for and more. And I always say, because of that, it's the most important Assassin's Creed to me.
That's amazing to hear. You know, and back when we were doing the press tour for Origins, one of the proudest speaking points for me was all the research that went into this, all the, the working with Egyptologists, trying to absorb, and we're not just Assassin's Creed as a brand. It's not just about being in a setting and a place, but understanding, right? Honoring the magnitude of what used to be the Egyptian Empire at that point. Understanding the context, understanding the significance of Cleopatra, right? That was everybody knows Cleopatra, but I don't think everybody appreciates all the nuance to her rising to power. The fact that the pyramids were already ancient by the time she arrived. All this layer upon layer upon layer, and we really. I was obviously one of the masses that had never really dug too deep, so we know pop culture references of Egypt. We know the pyramids exist. We know the Sphinx. We know Cleopatra. We know all these things because they're sort of in the ether out there, right? But digging into this and really, at least for me, educating myself and seeing this represented in 3D on the screen with elegance, with respect, and really honoring, like how magnificent it really was. So it's amazing to hear you say that, and I think that's one of the awesome things about Assassin's Creed in general, like being able to reflect and honor some of these older cultures.
Absolutely, and
Absolutely.
I know I'm not alone in this when I say that I have learned a ton about history through Assassin's Creed, going all the way back to the very first game, and I'm sure every time we play these games, we have people coming out in chat telling us that they've learned as much from AC as they have from a textbook. And I know, that Discovery Tour is something that was implemented for the first time with Origins. I was wondering if you can, speak a little bit about that. And, obviously Viking Age now is coming standalone to consoles as well. What has that whole experience been like?
I would love to answer your question, but I have a question for you first.
Oh, hit me.
Was there anything that you didn't know, coming from Egypt, that you didn't know that you learned while playing Origins, that you were like, oh, that's surprising?
That's a really good question. So I actually thought I knew quite a bit because I studied classical architecture. That was what my degree was in. So I studied Greek, Roman, and to a little lesser extent Egypt. So I wasn't super familiar with Egyptian architecture in that way. But one of the things that I love that I never really realized, because even when you do study Egyptian architecture, it's usually not of this time period. It's usually the pyramids and the Old Kingdom. And so one of the things that I think Origins does such a good job of that I never really realized is that at the time of Cleopatra, Cleopatra is essentially as much Greek as she is Egyptian, and this is a time when the Romans are coming to Egypt, when they're Alexandria is a Greek city, and the thing that this game showed to me and taught me was that at this time during Ptolemaic Egypt, Egyptians themselves were kind of second-class citizens in their own homeland. So that was something I learned just by playing the game, not even getting into Discovery Tour and all the things you learn in Discovery Tour. So that's my answer for you.
It's interesting. Like obviously seeing Alexandria be reconstructed, because it had to be reconstructed from all the information, data, plans that we had. How much of it doesn't exist, right? Right. It's But anyways, to answer your question about Discovery Tour, it was all this research, right? We had to do an amazing amount of research. We collaborated with museums around the world, trying to get artifacts, scans, information. We obviously knew that we wanted to be as genuine as possible and get as much information as we could to be educated, right? And to really pay homage to the culture. During all the research, working with Egyptologists and really absorbing this, we realized there's so much mystery, magic, so much information that hasn't been collected in a way that could be digested. And obviously we wanted to share this information, right? It's like we wrote a thesis on Egyptology, but how do you share that without saying, wait, stop the gameplay, stop fighting that dude, and listen to this story that we have to tell you.
Right.
And that was basically how Discovery Tour was born, saying we've learned so much, and there's so much here that is so exciting and mysterious and amazing. How do we share that? And obviously going through the thought process of, well, we want this to be accessible not just for players but also for children and schools. Okay, we need to remove the combat, we need to make it as accessible as possible, we need to highlight. We can't share everything, but how do we highlight? And you've seen even with the Discovery Tour the evolution, from Origins to now the Viking Age. We're still trying to find ways to entertain while being educational, and I know educational is not a loved word by everybody, but there's a lot of really cool stuff that you read it, and like the factoid about the pyramids were already there when Cleopatra ascended to the throne, and they were already ancient. People, when I share that with people, a lot of people would say, what? Oh, I thought they were built for her, or all this like information that is not correct, that is out there in the ether, correcting it and really helping people to contextualize that this is an ancient civilization that rose to amazing heights for that period, and even the occupation, right, of the Romans, how long they coexisted together. Cleopatra ascending to the throne as a woman, and after the failure of her, the other pharaohs, all this was super intriguing, and it was phenomenal to learn about and also to share with people through the Discovery Tour.
Yeah, and that's another thing I think this game does a great job of too, is showing how all these cultures combined, and how their gods combined, even in their religious beliefs and cultural beliefs, all come
for every yard on every play. Rise when we fall, but never stay down. The chance is here. Trying to live for the town. This is our moment. This is our time. The time is now. It's time to rise. This is our moment. This is our time. The time is now. Time to rise. This is our moment. This is our time. The time is now. It's time to rise. It's time to rise.
Welcome to Xbox Game Showcase Extended. I'm Aaron, this is Malik, and we have the honor of diving deeper into some of the most exciting and talked about announcements, as well as gameplay from the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase just 2 days ago. For the first time ever, the entire showcase was focused on games you can play over the next 12 months.
That's right, Aaron. You saw world premiere gameplay from Redfall and Starfield, and today we've got Bethesda's own Pete Hines right here to tell us more. You'll hear from the renowned developers behind the brand new Xbox franchise, Our History Untold. Dive into Naraka Bladepoint with our partners at NetEase Games, and so much more.
But first, we begin with a special look at how our fans got to celebrate the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase with a message from our very own Phil Spencer.
I love coming to events like this. You can just feel the energy, people loving to come together as a community, their love of video games, the Xbox fans. Just a really special time for everybody, myself included. Gaming has this unique ability to bring people together, whether it's saving the world from the aliens or winning a football game. It's so great. I love hearing from people, what did you like in the show? Those conversations with people that are here about areas that they like and areas they wish we would do more, I think that's something that drives us. You saw it in the show today. People said, we want to see more gameplay. And so we said, okay, great. You're going to see a ton of gameplay.
Yeah, I think this is our biggest lineup ever in terms of just diversity of different kinds of games from different kinds of teams, different genres.
There's some franchises, Japanese franchises, don't always come to Xbox. We've been working on that. Today we obviously have Persona.
It's important to us. We not only have all the games coming from our internal studios, but also great independent game developers that we work with around the world. So could not be more excited for what we're doing with Kojima.
And he's got this really great idea for a game. And I want to be clear, because I know we say like experience and stuff. He's building a video game, but he has this real unique things that he wants to do in the game. And we said, okay, let's go do something together. And I'm just really proud to be in an industry that can be part of so many people coming together.
Bethesda opened the showcase with a dramatic gameplay demo for Redfall and closed it with Todd Howard showing us how deep the rabbit hole goes on Starfield. And we also got a sneak peek at upcoming expansions for Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76. Here to break it all down for us is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Pete Hines from Bethesda. Pete, how are you?
I'm great. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So about a month ago, you all announced some delays for both Redfall and Starfield. So I wanted to give you a chance to tell us a little bit about the decision-making process for that.
Absolutely. Look, with all the time that goes into a game, it would be foolish to rush it out the door before it's ready. I think we have continued to sort of examine how we think about games and making sure that they are going to meet our players' expectations. Obviously, the last 2 years have really challenged us from a development standpoint. How we work now largely remotely, while a lot of our folks are not back in the office. And, that has an impact. I also think we've been thinking about things like release dates and when do we give those out and how do we make sure we give one out that we actually hit and don't have to change later. So it's not something we undertake lightly, but at the end of the day, I think what our fans expect, what Xbox fans, what Bethesda fans expect is a high-quality game, and we want to do everything we can to give our teams the time to fully realize the games they're making.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's all about, right? Like delivering an amazing experience for the players out there. And so, speaking of games, we're just going to jump into it. We're going to start with how the showcase started with
Sounds good.
Redfall. Now, before we even get into the game, Arcane's making the game, and I want you to talk a little bit about the pedigree of Arcane, just in case people don't know.
Sure.
These folks over there, they're doing their thing.
Arcane Studios is known for really amazing, immersive sims. They do any number of things. If you play games of theirs, Dishonored 2, Prey, there's a lot of common threads you'll find in them. They create really amazing, believable worlds. I think that's a big part of their game is when you're in Dunwall or you're up on a space station in Prey, that it feels believable. There's a reason why things are the way they are. They're also a big believers in systems-based as opposed to scripted. So they really embrace player freedom and sort of giving players the tools to decide, you figure out how you want to complete this mission or get through this area. We're not going to tell you how. We're just going to give you tools and then give you the freedom to go and do. But, there's great characters and interesting story. They bring a lot of different elements and then really let the player create the experience they want.
And that's what it's all about. Gamers have taken many games and made it their own. And I think the fact that Arcane is making the game with that in mind is super important. Now, how similar or dissimilar would you say this game, Redfall, is from the other Arcane games?
Look, on the surface, it's a first-person shooter that you can play solo or with up to 4 players, and so immediately you might say, well, it's not a single-player game, so it must be wildly different. And don't get me wrong, there's absolutely ways in which it is different, but I think when folks play the game, and even when they see more of the game, I think they'll start to see all of those things about an Arcane game that they love and appreciate. Why it's won multiple Action Game of the Year awards for Dishonored 2, is their ability to bring all of those things together, really high level of polish, and let folks experience it. And so I think all of those things we talked about. If you want to play a game by yourself and get a great Arcane story, you can absolutely do that in Redfall. But you can also do things that you haven't been able to do in an Arcane game, like experience it with friends and find out sort of how the whole can become greater than the sum of the parts, like playing it off of each character's abilities. You saw some of that in the demo that we showed. I think the more that people appreciate that, you almost are going to want to try and play Redfall a couple of different ways. You might want to play it by yourself a little bit, play it with others, and it's a game that allows you to do either or both of those things, however you see fit.
I'm glad you talked about playing with friends, because I'm taking applications for friends to help me get through Redfall.
Can I put my name on that list? I'm down to a little...
It'd be an honor. Pete.
Keep me on that list.
All right,
we need to go explore Redfall together.
I'm excited. I can't wait for that. And so let's talk a little bit more about the game. Now, between the trailer that we saw last year at the reveal, as well as this one that we just saw, I feel like Redfall reminded players of other co-op shooters, like Left 4 Dead, for example. What makes Redfall unique?
Again, it's one of those things, like if you watch just like combat footage, you might look at Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood or any of these things and go, oh, I see multiple characters facing a bunch of enemies, and so it's the same game. But I think that would be doing a disservice, that it's all of the things that take place in between the combat as well as the combat itself, sort of combining different skills and abilities in the way that you do, Layla dropping down an elevator using her powers that Jacob can use to get up top on a roof and provide cover. You have different characters who play roles really well, how you choose to use Brebone, the robot. All of those things come into, again, allowing the players not to say, here's a set of rules and you can only use, no, here's just some stuff that you can go off into this amazing sort of dynamic, ever-changing world and sort of experience and explore for yourself. And you come back the next day and it'll look and feel like a different experience, even though you're in the exact same part of the game. I mean, I think those are the kinds of things that Arcane does that really bring that sort of extra special element that makes their game so compelling.
Yeah, compelling and fresh. So I'm excited for Redfall, and you said it here for everyone to see that we're going to be playing together. So I'm going to hold you to that.
Absolutely.
You got the proof. All right.
Can't wait.
Awesome. So let's talk about Elder Scrolls Online. Now, I want to talk about the team philosophy, because I hear that the team is actually banned from saying things like, now is the perfect time to play.
My least favorite saying is there's never been a better time to play a game. Like, we all say that. Yes, games always get better. We know that. The thing that we love about where Elder Scrolls Online is going is their ability to continually refresh the experience for players, provide new experiences, like going to High Isle, a place they've never been in. An Elder Scrolls game, it does a lot of things like story and intrigue. There's a lot of politics in High Isle, different factions and the conflict that's going on there. And again, a way that you can jump in and play by yourself and experience it by yourself, even though it's an MMO. But the real special sauce of Elder Scrolls Online is our amazing community. They're so welcoming. They're so helpful. You know, if you need a little bit of help, if you need a lot of help, they're there for you to help explain, to make sure you have a fun experience. And honestly, like, that is such a huge part for an online game of creating an environment where anybody, no matter whether you just started playing or you've been playing for 8 years, can have a good experience no matter how you decide to engage with it.
I love that you mentioned that. Community is as you mentioned, is such a huge part of any online game. And so for players who may not have played Elder Scrolls, who are, like you said, looking to jump in, to know that they have that community backing them, that's going to help them guide them in their journey is super exciting. So, but I want to talk about Fallout a little bit. Okay. Huge milestone recently, 25 years of Fallout. It can rent a car even now. At this point, right? We're talking about it. All right, so this has to mean something super special to the team.
Absolutely, and look, we are as aware of anybody. Like, this franchise did not start with Bethesda. It's one that we took on along the way, and our intent is not just to pay homage to, like, Bethesda Fallout. Like, no, we mean all Fallout, because what this series has done, what it meant to us as players when we went and played those games, played the original Fallout 2, and then what the franchise has become, and sort of growing and finding an even, a new audience with Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 76 is something we really want to celebrate. And honestly, what's going on in Fallout 76 with the pit and your ability to continue to push the boundaries in an online game of story and meaningful player choice, and as you're going along, making decisions that kind of matter and have a real impact, I think is important in the evolution of Fallout 76. And just honestly, how far that game has come from its launch. Like, we're keenly aware of how that launch went, but we are also keenly aware of the incredible amount of effort and dedication from all of our teams across Bethesda to say, like, we believe in this thing, and we want to give the fans more of what they want and the kind of experiences that they want. And where Fallout 76 is now is truly remarkable when you go back and look at sort of where we were and how far we've come, and honestly, how much cool stuff is in store in the pit. It's going to be super fun.
Excited to jump in. And again, that's one of those things that I'm sure you guys attribute to the community, giving that feedback.
That 76 community, again, not just in the game, but what they do for each other, to support other folks in the community, what they have done to raise funds for worthwhile causes. Like, it's not just an amazing group of gamers, it's an amazing group of human beings, and honestly, one that we're honored to interact with and be a part of every day.
I love that, Pete. Before you make me cry, we're going to move on to Starfield, all right?
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about it. Starfield ended the show. I got to say, watching the trailer, breathtaking. It's one of those things from the different locations and just seeing the difference between that moon versus the populated city, just amazing. The dog fighting, just everything was so awesome. The team really outdid themselves.
It's one of those things about a Bethesda Studios game that I always love, and it's been the case, honestly, since, I worked on Morrowind and Oblivion and all those games that, we talked about. And for every single one, you cannot pin people down to, oh, it's about this, because it's not. Like, ultimately what those games are massive sandboxes where they give players just ridiculous amounts of freedom to say, you go figure out what kind of game you want to play and what kind of experience you want to have, because that's what this game is about. It's not us prescribing and saying, you have to do these things. And no, it's about creating this huge sandbox with over 1,000 planets, so you can completely explore and say, yeah, but you don't have to. Like, it's entirely up to you to figure out what is fun for me. Do I want story? Do I want to join factions? Do I want to, build outposts and gather resources to build more cool stuff? The team really puts all of those tools in the player's hands and step back and says, now it's time for you to tell the story of Starfield, which is your story, which is going to be different than mine, which is going to be different than everybody else's. And I think that's really where the magic of a Bethesda Game Studios game happens.
Speaking about the scope of everything, Todd said that this is what an epic RPG is. What does Bethesda define an epic RPG as?
I think, again, it's sort of leaning into, look, there's a lot of folks who take a lot of different approaches on what does an open world mean. And Bethesda Game Studios always pushes themselves to the most freedom and least limitations, right? Where the items in the world are all real things. You walk into a store and there's a bunch of weapons or whatever. Like, that's not just art on a countertop. Like, you could pick those up. You could steal them and run out of it. You can create chaos. Like, we don't want to put too many limits on what the player is or isn't allowed to do. We love it when players say, I wonder what happens if, and then they try it. And then they get to see, like, oh my Lord, chaos ensued and it was insanity. Everybody was shooting at me. And like, that's, I think, the beauty of Bethesda Game Studios and the number of ways that they push for you to explore that, right? It's not just one, it's you could spend thousands of hours doing nothing but shipbuilding and like focus that as all you're about, and that's okay. But you could also be about exploring every planet and finding all of the good, and that's okay. Or you could just play the main story and be like, I want a kind of experience that I'm guided through so that I kind of get to see stuff, and I might stop here and there. Oh, there's a cool side quest that I got, but I want something that sort of leads me through because I'm a little, it can be a little daunting to say you can go do whatever I want. Like, ooh, I don't know what I should do. So some folks want a little bit of a guided path or to understand where the fun is, and no approach is wrong. Like, for me, that's epic because it says we aren't putting any limits on what you can or can't do. We're going to set you loose and just sit back and watch the beauty that you create with your own stories and the way that you solve problems or choose to spend your time in this world we've created.
I love that. And what you said about, those moments that maybe you experience that I don't, like, those are some of the best moments if I think back to playing RPGs when I'm discussing with my friends. Oh, did you see that? No, I didn't see that. Where did you see it? And having them go out and find it. So I think that's going to be one of those things.
We talk about that a lot, that sort of water cooler moment.
Exactly.
Of like, you come in the next day and you talk to everybody about what you did, and you were like, wait, I did that quest, but I did this completely different thing. And you sort of start to appreciate all of the choices that you could have made you didn't even realize were an option. Like, oh, I didn't even think about doing that. Like, oh yeah, I just ran in and stole his ship and shot all of his crew members and took off. Like, you can do that? Like, oh yeah, you can do anything. Like that, I think that is a special part of a Bethesda Game Studios game. And when we say epic RPG, we mean all of the stories, all of them.
All right, you just gave me some ideas for stealing people's ships. So I appreciate that. That's going to be top on the list to do in Starfield. Now, we saw quite a bit of combat and action in the game. That seems to also be, in addition to exploring and everything, that seems to be another huge focus of the game.
Absolutely. I mean, look, if you look at a game like Skyrim, which, like, everybody's played Skyrim at this point, it can, a combat is a big part of that. Unless you decide it's not. Like, if you're one of those folks that says, actually, I'm going to do the alchemy thing, and I just go off and pick flowers and make potions and, like, live another life in another world this way, then combat isn't part of it. But look, we know in an epic RPG, there's always bad people, they, shooting at you. Sometimes you got to return fire, and there's a lot of fun to be had there. And so, providing a lot of different skills that sort of determine how good you are in combat, combined with all the different weapons in the game, and then you layer in ship combat and all of these other things, it starts to sort of paint a picture of just how broad or how deep the rabbit hole goes.
It's going to be so impressive. And you touched on it a little bit, and I want to talk about it because this was watching the video, the demo, what I saw, and it really caught my eye is around the ship. It's not just getting in the ship and that's your ship. There's so much behind it. Can you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, like every ship is customizable to the nth degree, and not just like cosmetically. I want my ship to look like this or look like that, though obviously that's totally a thing that you could do if all you care about is cosmetics. But it goes much deeper than that in terms of like what kind of shields you have, what kind of weapons you have, like what kind of ship are you building? What do you want it to be good at? What trade-offs are you willing to make or not? And then the other part of it is, of course, well, you can't just, like, it's a spaceship. Those aren't cheap. So you have to figure out, like, how am I going to do this? Where do I get the resources to build this stuff? What kind of, skills do I need to level up to improve different parts of my ship beyond, what I could do without those skills? So there's a lot of, again, choices in terms of you get to decide that, how much you want to put into that or not. Do you just want to give somebody money for the parts that you want? Do you want to build it? All of those things are sort of part of the fun of deciding how much do you want to interact with this and how do you want to interact with it.
Absolutely. I mean, just as you mentioned, the scope, the level of player agency, something that I feel like is going to just make Starfield such a special experience. So between Redfall, ESO, Fallout 76, and Starfield, you all are just killing the game.
Yeah, we got a few games coming out.
It's going to be so great. Pete, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, Pete. Now, coming up, we'll hear from our friends around the world, including Squanch Games, Obsidian Entertainment, Playground Games, and of course, Xbox fans like you. But first, let's hear from the creators of one of the world's most popular Battle Royale games.
We are glad to share Naraka Bladepoint, a unique online multiplayer action game with players all around the globe. As a NetEase studio, 24 Entertainment is joining hands with Microsoft to bring Naraka Bladepoint to consoles for the first time. You could play the game on Xbox Series X and S, as well as Windows next week. We're also joining Xbox Game Pass, a platform with a huge player base and a vast, bright future. Naraka has been so well received on the PC platform. I am so grateful to the players for their love and support. As a competitive survival game incorporating a lot of action elements, Naraka features a range of characters with unique personalities. Each hero draws from different civilizations and cultures. Battles allow for a great degree of strategic play. You've got a wealth of melee and ranged weapons to choose from, and a vast map filled with interactive elements to explore. Perhaps you'll engage your foes in samurai combat, katanas at the ready, or maybe you'll use Persian assassin techniques and strike from afar. With your grappling hook, you can fly between temple walls and across bamboo forests with ease. Beyond solo endeavors, you can also party up with friends and use group tactics to flatten your foes. That's Naraka's underlying design philosophy, that you're unchained and have the freedom to choose how you play. Collect soul jades to change how you play, transform your katana strikes, and make your cannon a weapon of mass destruction. Each hero can be customized too. Whether you want to rush into battle as a berserker warrior or cast fireballs as a sorcerer, the choice is yours. We can't forget to mention our unique face customization system too. You'll never need to worry about running into a doppelganger on the battlefield, because you're able to edit your hero's features to your heart's content. You can even recreate your favorite faces. As we approach Naraka's first launch anniversary, we're introducing a brand new weapon, the Twin Blades, releasing together with the Xbox and Game Pass editions. Twin Blades strike with the speed of a raging tempest and sweeping blows. We've seen similar weapons in other games, but here in Naraka, it comes with a style all its own. Charging up strikes is usually a high-risk, high-reward move. With the Twin Blades, you can charge up while moving and keep your momentum as you unleash a flurry of combos on foes. Since its release, Naraka Bladepoint has launched its own faction clash game mode with Omni's Nightmare and the thrilling limited-time mode Shadow Surge. There have been many casual modes to play as well, but our community has eagerly asked for a campaign mode. We're always listening to our player base, and we're happy to announce that the wait is over. Players will see the first chapter of our campaign mode. Form teams of 3 to take on new enemy types and massive bosses. Disarming a boss won't be as easy as disarming another player though. PvP and campaign mode are two entirely different games. Further campaign chapters are also in the works, so we're eager to hear any feedback you have for us. We are also working on an Xbox One version and hope to see more players join Naraka later this year. Naraka is launching on Xbox Series X and S and Windows Store on June 23rd, and it's included with Game Pass at launch day. Now's your chance to dive into the world of Naraka Blade Point.
快来体验我生无拘吧！
History is filled with moments of greatness. Some well known, some lost to time. But what about the history that could have been if you were its architect? How would you reshape the world? What new stories would you tell? And when your people speak, would you listen? How would you lead them in this new world? History is filled with moments of greatness, but these will be yours.
I'm excited to welcome our friends from Oxide Games for a closer look at their historical grand strategy game for PC called Ara: History Untold. Dan, Michelle, thank you two for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
And on behalf of the entire studio, we are really excited to be here and finally be able to talk about Ara.
I mean, we all are excited too. You just had the world premiere 2 days ago for Ara. And I have to say, I'm a really, really big history fan. I love me some history, so I've been looking forward to talking to you two about this. Now, we all know this is not your first strategy game, but the vision behind Ara is so ambitious. So tell us more about it. And also for those who are new to Oxide Games, we would love to hear more about the studio as well.
So Oxide Games was founded 9.5 years ago in my basement, actually, from the development leads of Civilization V. And our goal is to push strategy games to the next level.
And what's really great about working on a new IP is that you don't have kind of these previous expectations that a sequel would have. And so the sky really was the limit, and we got to really take the genre to a new space. And we really hope that not only will fans of strategy games like this, but people who've never played a strategy game before will find something they love as well.
You're absolutely taking it to the next level. I think I saw like a drone was in like the 18th century or something like that. It's very, very fascinating. And I think that like, if you're someone who really enjoys history, it's bringing like all of the worlds together, all the periods of time together. And that's a grand vision in itself. So how does the vision of Ara impact the player experience within the game?
So one of the kind of big things we wanted to do with Ara was really explore how to make the game less about finding that optimal strategy, that optimal path, and really bring in ways to make it more meaningful to the player, make it unique to themselves. So what are different kinds of choices we can bring to the player so that when you play, it's different than when I play, and yet we can both be competitive together? How can we do things to really impact agency and expression and really let you express your values and your play styles through the different mechanics in the product?
And Dan, what about you? How does the vision impact the overall experience?
So one of the big things that we've been working on is what we call the living world. We wanted the expression of the game to manifest itself in a way that felt authentic and cool. So we've spent a lot of effort on making sure that the choices that you make are expressed in a visual way. And so you're going to see your citizens doing things that reflect the choices that you've made. And this is actually really challenging. So one of the goals when we founded Oxide was to not have to tell the designers, no, you can't do that thing. And so it was a very large technological constraint from doing something like that. But we have our own proprietary engine that allows us to really bring this alternate Earth to life.
I think that's the beauty, right? Because in history, the great thing about learning history is that you learn about culture, you learn about stories, you learn about things that are probably brand new to your eyes. But the way that Ara helps you remix, reimagine, and rewrite history is a beautiful sight to see. And I'm excited to get my hands on it, and I'm sure everyone else is who's watching. So let us know, where can we learn more about it, and when can we get our hands on it? Because I need it today.
So if you head over to the website, you can sign up for the Insider program, which will give you a chance to join the technical alpha and play the game later this summer, which is super exciting because we've been playing it, all the time. And so now you have a chance to play.
Dan, Michelle, thank you two so much for giving us the lowdown on Ara. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Grounded is finally leaving early access and moving into full release with a highly anticipated story mode. Here's Adam Brennicke and Eric Dorabella from Obsidian Entertainment to tell us more.
What can players expect from the 1.0 launch of Grounded?
The big one, of course, is going to be a complete game, and that means story, right? From beginning to end, you can play through, why are you here? Who put you here?
Yeah, exactly.
And how are you going to get home? And I think those are like the big questions that people are asking about Grounded. Originally, we really just wanted to make a survival game. And one of the jokes was, hey, what if we did backyard survival? Everyone was like, yeah, that's a very unusual idea, but I think there's something there. One of the things that we did early on was establish the art style of Grounded. Things started coming to life as we did the initial prototypes and seeing some of the cool things, like the first time we added the spider into the yard, seeing the reactions of people in the office, even jump scares, people screaming. The team is very small. It's the smallest team I've ever worked on at Obsidian. I wanted everyone to be able to participate on the design side of things. So I said everyone is a designer on the team. And I think that extends into our community and how we're building the game in game preview and early access.
That's probably one of the big successes of the game, is how close we work with the community and take all their feedback and suggestions. I think it's super rad.
For a game developer too, that is a huge, huge thing, just to get people's feedback constantly of what they're liking, what they're not liking. And all those adjustments just make a much, much better game at the end of the day. We're at that point now that the yard's getting finished, and now we can play through the story. There's a lot of surprises. There's a lot of, things that I think players aren't going to expect. And I
think I know what you're talking about. I cannot wait to see players' reactions. I know a lot of players are just waiting for the story to be finished to finally jump into the game. People who played the game previously are also holding out for more content. I think it's just going to pull a lot of people back in and gain a lot of new players. So Adam, we have the Broodmother from last year. It was our first big boss. And then we came out with a bunch of mini bosses like
Termite King and
the Assistant Manager. But in this trailer, we're showing players the Mantis. What can they expect from this?
So we're super excited to finally show off the Mantis. I know that's been a big ask from players that they want to see a praying mantis in the game.
They've been asking for this for a long time. Do we have anything else that the players can get excited about?
The mantis is just a little tease of one of the new boss fights, but there's more to come, right? Potentially many boss fights that we have planned for the full release of Grounded. There's a lot more secrets and other things to uncover.
When we reached 5 million players, that was already super crazy. And then we hit the next milestone of 10 million players still being Xbox.
Doubling it, right?
Yeah, in Xbox Game Preview Early Access.
That just goes to show that we have a fantastic game. Everyone's just so surprised at how much Grounded has grown.
I just hope that players and the community understand how important they are and impactful on this game with us.
We're so thankful for everyone's support along the way. It's been an amazing journey, and we're finally almost at the finish line, right?
Yeah.
And I think we wouldn't be here without our amazing community and all of the fan support.
I agree. Best community ever. Yeah.
So I got a call from my good friend York Newman, the head of Microsoft Flight Simulator. He told me it was imperative that I meet with him. So I'm in this helicopter, we're flying to this location, we're on our way, let's go.
York! Hey, Paris, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming to DC, man.
No, thank you. What am I doing here?
Later. Let's get in. We don't have much time.
Oh, okay.
All right, Paris, right across the Potomac. That's where our contact is.
Are we headed towards Arlington?
It's still secret. I'm sorry.
York, what is this place?
Oh, you'll see. Let's go. Wow, look at this place. Nick, how's it going?
Hello.
Paris, I would like to introduce Nick Partridge from the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum.
Thank you for having me. But this makes a lot of sense. I saw during the trailer there was a collaboration between the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum and Flight Simulator. Here we are at the National Air and Space Museum. So let's talk about that collaboration. Tell me more about that.
Well, Jorg and I have been talking for more than a year. He was looking for me, and it turns out I was looking for him to ask the same question, which was, don't you think that our organizations have a lot in common? Dedicated to bringing flight to everyone, and
I was looking for the Spirit of St. Louis, which is in the Smithsonian ever since 1928. And the Smithsonian was gracious enough. They gave us a millimeter perfect scan, which is what we'll feature in the 40th anniversary edition. But as Nick and I kept talking, it was very clear, you know, the world's foremost museum for air and space, the Smithsonian. Yeah. And Microsoft celebrating its 40th anniversary. It's a match made in heaven, and there's lots of things we can do.
Yeah, authenticity, accuracy, access, it's all there. We're hoping that if everyone has as much fun in the community with the content that we initially collaborated on, a couple of our most historic aircraft, and some of the other aircraft in this center are already in the simulator, maybe we can jump in with both feet and do more in the years to come. Maybe even, who knows, we'll go crazy. We'll put the space shuttle in there.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
All right, you guys have never been here before,
No,
right?
this is my first time.
All right, so keep your eyes peeled, stick together, and Jorg, I've got something special for you right around here.
Perfect. Check this out. This is my favorite plane, the Junkers Ju-52 3-motor. Amazing.
And that is an awesome plane. And as I look at all these planes around here, it makes me ask the question, are you going to put all of them in flight sim?
Maybe not all of them, but we hope a lot of them. In the 40th anniversary that comes out this fall, we already have 3. We have the Wright Flyer, the Spirit of St. Louis, and the DC-3. And we hope to get a few more. As Nick and I were talking, there's a lot of things we could do.
Yeah, we started with the most iconic ones, and who knows? There's no lack of opportunity.
You know, I keep saying amazing because this place is amazing. And just like Flight Sim, it just keeps going. So what else is happening?
It does seem like we're going supersonic, like the Concorde here. We've been doing a major update ever since we launched, every month since August 2020. And just today, we're actually launching World Update 10. And guess what?
Tell me.
It's the United States. And it's huge. We have a dozen cities, a new height field, brand new aerials, new missions, new airports, new everything. And as always, it's free. And check out this beauty. This is the Beechcraft Model 18. They call it the Twin Beech. It's a famous plane, and that's also launching today. And it's a great coincidence.
It's actually a huge coincidence. Jorg's been working on that Beechcraft since before we met, but it's a great example of how much we already had in common.
So Jorg, what can we expect the rest of the year from Flight Sim?
We have a ton of great things coming up. So today is World Update 10. We have 2 more World Updates, one in August and one in October. And then in November, we have the big 40th anniversary edition, which will be an absolute delight for anyone who loves aviation.
Okay, that 40th anniversary edition, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we're celebrating by bringing back some of the planes from the old sims, like from Flight Sim 10, 9, 8, even before that. And we're restoring some of the old missions, and we're bringing back some of the airports that were in those editions. So it's a real celebration of the franchise.
So this celebration is not only of the franchise, but the past as well.
And we're also adding brand new things on top of it, like that the community really wanted. For example, helicopters. Sobo wrote a brand new fluid dynamic system to make all that work. And then we're adding gliders, which is a completely different way to experience the planet. It's just you and the wind. Right. And then the last one is it's the biggest deal for Simmers, a brand new real-to-life airliner, the A310 from Airbus, by a brand new partner called Builds, a great development team. In fact, of the 10 planes we're bringing, most of them are created in collaboration with third parties. So it's a really cool way for us to integrate with the creator community.
Now, how do I get this?
If you're on Game Pass, if you already own Flight Sim, the 40th Anniversary Edition is a free upgrade.
This has just been an incredible experience, seeing all these planes and going through the history and everything that's coming to Flight Simulator. I mean, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming to DC. Paris, thank you, Nick, for the great collaboration with the Smithsonian and for kicking off the 40th Anniversary Edition of Flight Sim. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Today was a good day, but now I have a need for speed. I'm headed to the danger zone, baby.
Estamos aquí para disfrutar del mejor día de mi vida, el día de la Xbox, que estoy muy emocionado.
I came in Madrid just yesterday to be here in FanFest Xbox, and I'm so excited.
Estamos aquí en Madrid para ver nuevos juegos como Starfield, que yo personalmente le tengo muchísimas ganas.
Me ha encantado y no me lo podía perder, este es un evento único.
Why gaming? Just a passion.
Son experiencias únicas. Me ofrecen algo que no encuentro en otro lado.
Lo que te digo, es como una familia para mí.
Me ha parecido genial y un cierre para un evento así maravilloso.
Just the passion that people have. I feel very welcome.
Hey, we're just a snippet of Squanch Games, and we're here to talk about High on Life, our new action-adventure, comedy, Metroidvania, first-person shooter that is nothing at all, a little bit like Microsoft Excel.
All right, you're a bounty hunter now. You gotta help me rescue my friends. They're Gatlians, just like me.
That's our game, High on Life. Pretty insane. There's a lot to talk about.
Let's dive in. So Justin, you're typically known for working in animation. What brings you into the world of games? Why are you in the world of games?
I'm obsessed with games, have been my whole life. Always had ideas, always had, things I would love to make, but just never thought I could ever step into that arena because I lack all the skills needed.
You don't know how games work.
Other than like creative direction, creative ideas, like other than that, I lack all the skills to execute.
But that's why, that's part of why you want to start Squanch, right? Is to be able to have an idea like that and let it grow to something amazing.
And to be able to be creatively free. I wanted to make games that I wanted to play. And that was sort of the spark that just lit the fire of Squanch Games. And then we shipped Trover and we shipped Accounting Plus, and now we're on this absolutely dream game. This is like our real legit swing at like a proper, we're indie, but this is like our AAA, or is it triple I for indie?
Yeah. We're triple I.
Yeah, this is a triple I game.
So the story of our game mostly follows Earth being invaded by this evil criminal cartel of aliens who come in and kidnap humans and start selling them on the black market like they're drugs. And you're the one human who has to team up with a talking gun and stop them.
And when you select a cartel leader that you're gonna go after, it opens the portal door to that world that they're in.
Eric, can you tell us a little bit about the worlds of the game, the art style of the game, the visuals?
Yeah. So we spent a lot of time kind of constructing and creating these awesome alien worlds. Myself and Mikey Spano, who is our art director, him and I worked like a ton on the sort of art direction of the game. He really kind of landed in this space, which was kind of Blade Runner meets the Muppets. So we're trying to capture that feeling with all of our characters, especially our aliens. And then each world is its own kind of unique flavor, right? I think some of the ideas came from very kind of core thoughts. Like we want to have an awesome alien, like drug-dense spa on an asteroid. And yeah, what makes me really excited is the sort of really clear and like it's almost deceivingly simple narrative, right?
Save the Earth, human to drugs, talking guns. Ta-da.
So Alec, who are the guns? What's their deal?
The guns are these talking alien Gatlians. They're all shaped somewhat like a gun you'd find on Earth, but they've evolved to be just gun-like in their own way. And so this race of Gatlians each has their own unique personality, their unique set of abilities, and you're gonna be rescuing them from this evil alien cartel, and together, you gotta stop the bad guys.
And get more Gatlians.
Yeah, collect more Gatlians.
Yeah, a lot of players are gonna have very different experiences depending on what gun they favor.
Yeah, you kind of pick your favorite companion to have out a lot and hear their dialogue, be part of different dialogue scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
Look at us, blasting away!
And sometimes you can unlock the guns in a different order than another player has. So when you go back through a level, you'll see things that you would have been able to access if you'd done it in the other order.
That's
and you can come back.
That's a huge one.
All right, so we've talked about this crazy good game that sounds amazing. Why should people be excited to play it?
As a studio, we are attempting to bring A-level adult comedy into video games.
Something I love about Squanch is we would put a lot of effort into things that a lot of other studios wouldn't even bother with, like a single small joke that 5 players might find.
Well, okay, now I can.
I love that stuff. I love like edge casing and like
what makes you remember a game.
Yeah, like if a player's trying to break the game in a certain way and then you have an answer for that for them, that is like such a memorable and amazing moment. It's almost like watching TV, but the viewer is able to reach into the TV and poke a thing, and the character has to respond to that. And there's so much fun to be had for the most part.
You can skip it all. We worked really hard on it if you want to skip it.
Yeah, if you want to just like miss out on like,
Yeah, if you're like a big dummy and you don't want to play the game at all, that's fine. We're not going to judge you. We're just going to be upset.
Gonna be fun. You know I can't let you leave.
Pentiment is a narrative adventure game set in 16th century Bavaria, which is part of the Holy Roman Empire. You play a character named Andreas Mahler, who is an artist working at a Benedictine abbey. He gets involved in a series of murders and scandals and tries to unravel them over a period of about 25 years. The name Pentiment, it is specifically referring to paintings in which there's an older painting underneath the painting that you see on the top. And if you scrape away the top layer, you see what was left behind. This has a bunch of significance. Obviously, you're playing a painter, but also it has a lot of significance to the idea of history kind of being covered and uncovered over time. When I saw narrative-driven games with really distinctive art styles, I was inspired to make a historical game that focused on the unique art style of the early modern period that was really driven by the relationships between characters and the stories that played out over time. Hannah Kennedy was really integral to defining the art style of Pentiment, especially blending the late medieval illuminated manuscripts with the early modern woodcuts.
Yeah, so there's a lot of major points to solve and kind of marry between wanting this to be a true to the history, true to the... So there's a lot of major points to solve and kind of marry between wanting this to be a true to the history, true to the feel of the source material that we were
wild imagining of a myth that I think everybody knows, and also free. So try it, enjoy it. The best we can hope is for you guys to like it, or at least be entertained.
Well, thank you for all that you do. Yusuf, so we're going to go over to Assassin's Creed Stories next?
Yeah, Jose, thank you so much, y'all. Thank you so much for rocking with us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Jose, you are welcome back anytime. You were
yes.
Amazing. Thank you. But yeah, we are going to kick it now over to the Assassin's Creed Stories. Tons of information there. Be sure to stick around for the whole thing. And we will see y'all tomorrow right here on this channel as well. Chassis and I will be back playing some other games. But take care, everyone, and happy 15th anniversary to Assassin's Creed.
Indeed. Happy anniversary. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Jose.
Hello everyone, my name is Sebastian Bratis, and I'm a community developer on Assassin's Creed. I want to start off by welcoming you all to the Assassin's Creed Stories livestream. This is the second edition to the series, so if you happen to miss last year's stream, there will be a link in the description to that video. Assassin's Creed Stories is a celebration of all the amazing transmedia projects coming from the world of Assassin's Creed. These projects, ranging from comic books, novels, manga, and podcasts, showcase the love we all have for this franchise and explore both brand new stories and some unexpected additions from the beloved heroes of the Brotherhood. We have a lot of exciting content to talk about, and we'll first start by diving into the world of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'll be speaking with writers that crafted both the narrative for the Dawn of Ragnarok expansion, as well as the companion comic book published by Dark Horse. Then, I'll have a chance to discuss a historical podcast series, Assassin's Creed Echoes of History, with the co-writer and producer of that project. Finally, we'll be shifting gears to focus on some original upcoming projects, including a webtoon sequel to Assassin's Creed Black Flag and a discussion about the Magus Conspiracy novel trilogy. We have a lot of exclusive content lined up, so let's jump into it now with Assassin's Creed Forgotten Myths. Assassin's Creed Valhalla Forgotten Myths is a comic miniseries published by Dark Horse Comics that serves as a prequel to Assassin's Creed Valhalla Dawn of Ragnarok. 2 of the 3 issues are already out now in the US and in Canada, with additional translations coming soon. Today, we're joined by some special guests to talk more about the miniseries. Please welcome Alex Freed and Alice Harakis.
Hey, Sebastian. Great to be here.
All right, perfect. Wonderful to have both of you. First, I'd like to start by learning a little bit more about who both of you are and what you guys do.
Okay, my name's Alex Harakis. I'm the lead writer at Ubisoft Sofia, and I was responsible for the narrative direction and the overall script writing of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Dawn of Ragnarok.
And I'm Alexander Freed. I'm a novelist, a video game writer, and relevantly today, a comic book writer, and I wrote the script for the Forgotten Myths comic.
It's a pretty lengthy amount of writing. Could you give us a brief overview about what Forgotten Myths is about, Alex, Seth?
Sure. So Forgotten Myths is essentially the story of Baldur and Loki. And Baldur is the son of Odin, the son of Havi, the most beloved of the gods, the best of the gods, god of light, a courageous warrior, invulnerable to harm. He is seeking a new challenge in his godly life, and he decides he's going to make peace between the fire giants of Muspelheim and the dwarves of Svartalfheim. And in order to do that, he recruits the help of Loki, who is, of course, not particularly beloved by the gods, particularly by Baldur's father. So the comics are basically the story of their adventures together, their wary relationship, and of course, because it's based on loosely Norse mythology, it all ends in fire and bloodshed and general horribleness.
Those stories often seem to skew towards the horribleness. So I guess obviously because there's so much interconnectivity with Norse mythology, where did the idea for this story originate as it relates to Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
Okay, I mean, the first question I think is why mythological? Because Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a very thorough game, and they did such a great job covering the historical side of the Norse culture. So for us, it was really about taking something that, obviously, in Valhalla there is a mythological aspect, but it's not the main focus of the game. So for us, it was an opportunity to actually jump in there and weave our own story and fill some of the gaps that were understandably there, and really created a great playground, if you like. In terms of the actual why this story, Norse mythology is so broad. I mean, you've got this great creation mythos, you've got so many beloved, sort of well-known stories about the gods and their various antics going on, but we really needed something that would allow us to connect with the base game. And the focus of the base game, when it did look at the mythological side of Norse culture, was to do with Ragnarok. And they showed how Havi, or Odin, began his journey on this road that will eventually lead him to Ragnarok and his ultimate fate. And then they fast forwarded to how it all ends. For us, it was about coming in and looking with a bit more detail about that journey there. It's kind of like when you, I do this all the time, when I start reading a book or watching a movie, I'll often read the final chapter to see how it ends. And then I'll go back and it's about finding out how you got there. Most people, I think, know how Ragnarok ends, especially those who played this game. So that's not a huge mystery. The intrigue, what was really interesting was how does this character of Havi, of Odin, actually end up with that fate? How does he embrace his fate, if you like? So that was really what really appealed to us in this story, and that's really sort of what took our focus, if you like.
I think that's really interesting, especially there's that sense of inevitability where, as you mentioned, that the conclusion is known, but the intrigue comes into the meandering ways in which we get there. So obviously knowing that in terms of Norse mythology and being able to create stories from Norse mythology, it's rich universe, it's rich characters. Were you both familiar with Norse tales before writing for the game and for the comic, or was this kind of uncharted territory for you both?
For me, I had some knowledge. As a writer of over 20 years, it's one of those things that someone's always coming and asking you, let's do a Vikings project. And so you always run off and do your research, and then you come back and they've changed their mind. They don't do a Vikings project. But it does mean that you do get quite a good knowledge over the years of Norse mythology, of Vikings, etc. So once we decided to do this mythological story, I didn't have sort of like the absolute knowledge by any means, but I did have a good grounding. And then it was really very much a case of me and the rest of the creative team and the rest of the writers just going away and really immersing ourselves for a month or two in Norse mythology, reading, watching things, which is one of the best things about this job. You know, you get paid to do the things you like doing, like researching these fantastic cultures. So yeah, it was a lot of around the clock getting into the sort of like the culture of the Norse.
Alexander, do you have anything to add on there?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting to hear that story. Mine was a little different. So I've been fairly well steeped in Norse mythology since I was a child, but had never really touched on anything vaguely related to that world in a professional capacity until this comic came along. And for me, it was very much, oh, suddenly I'm playing with these toys that have, you know, well over 1,000 years of history. They have all of this sort of emotional power and historical strength and archetypal weight attached to them. And it was just tremendously exciting to be working with that. You know, to write something in a script like Thor throws his hammer, or, you know, Loki shape changes into a fish. And it almost made it difficult to remember, wait, this needs to work as a story on its own terms as well. I can't just lean entirely on the fact that, you know, these icons have built up this power over so many centuries, that they still need to work as characters. They still need to have recognizable emotions and go through something that works even divorced from the mythological background.
Yeah, it must be a certain element of having to find a way to deconstruct all the things that you know that people know about these characters. Like, how do you compartmentalize all of that? It's really interesting how the kind of the blurred lines between the comic, the cover, the experience in production, and obviously the game. Assassin's Creed is known for its beloved narrative elements, the experiences it offers through its games and through various transmedia projects. In your opinion, how do comics offer a different storytelling opportunity? And do you see comic books as being a natural extension for the franchise or a natural extension to gaming?
I mean, I've always felt like an author should be playing to the strengths of the medium that they're working in, telling stories that really only that medium can do. And games have so much to offer in that regard. Obviously, interactivity is a beast that no other medium can even really touch upon. It's so powerful. It is utterly unique. And any game that leans into that really just is doing well by its own nature. A comic is never going to be able to outdo a video game on that front. It's never going to be able to outdo a video game on the sort of visceral nature of the action. But what a comic can do is it can layer in text the way a novel can. It can have just sort of, you know, subtleties of dialogue and narration that are very hard to do in other media, and do it alongside a sort of, you know, imaginative set of, you know, phantasmagorical imagery. In a comic, we can go from world to world and monster to monster all within the space of a page, when, you know, it would have taken a video game or a film, you know, months or years of work to create that many environments. And so we have sort of a limitless budget in a comics world, and all of that pairs up very nicely with the ambitions of the Assassin's Creed universe.
I'll quickly extend that question to you, Alex, but I do have to say, phantasmagorical is probably the coolest word I have ever heard in my entire life up until this point, and it's absolutely something I'm going to take with me and keep in my back pocket. I do want to say, it's always cool seeing how these stories can take new shapes across different mediums. As you said, kind of fill in the gaps within each other. Thank you both so much for sharing all of your insights on the project. You can pick up Assassin's Creed Valhalla's Forgotten Myths at your local comic book shop or online retailer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian.
And now I'd like to welcome Clément Lessaf from French-American podcast studio Paradiso. Clément was a co-writer and producer on Echoes of History Ragnarok, the history documentary podcast about Norse mythology, which was launched a few weeks ago in English, French, German, Chinese, and Brazilian Portuguese on all streaming platforms.
Hi, Sebastian. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for your time. Clément, are you able to share a bit about yourself and your role in the development of the podcast, and a bit more about the studio Paradiso as well?
Yeah, sure, sure. Well, first, Paradiso is a French and American podcast studio. You said it. The main team is based here in Paris, but we have also a small unit in Los Angeles, and we produce different types of podcasts: journalism, investigations, documentaries, kids stories too, and of course, brand content such as the ones we produce for Ubisoft. I personally joined Paradiso last December to work on different podcasts, including what would become later Ragnarok. On this specific project, I was co-writer and producer, which means that during the writing process, I oversaw the work of our writer, Julie Goisé, and I wrote myself some parts of the episodes, especially the texts of Gylfi, who is the character that introduces and ends each episode. And after that, I managed the recording sessions and the post-production with my co-producer on the project, Axel Gobert.
Amazing. So I guess before diving into this project, I want to quickly ask, how familiar were you with Norse mythology as a whole? And did your experience working on this project give you a new appreciation for it?
Well, I had a big advantage here because I'm a huge fan of Norse mythology because, I'm not gonna lie, Marvel movies. My first contact with this mythology was with the movie Thor. I was, I think, 16 when it came out in theater, and I just fell in love with the world. Of course, it helped me a lot getting into the production of the podcast. I already had some solid basis on the topic, but I kind of did more because I read the Edda, which is the main source of the Norse mythology. It's a small book written in the 13th century. So I read it, and I had like the official version back in the days of what was Norse mythology.
So yeah, as you said, in terms of like experiencing the content through movies and through other kind of pop culture, as well as through the Edda, the actual texts. How do you think that podcasts as a content form work so well with these types of stories?
Well, simply because it relies on the power of the voice. We are used to think that documentary equals TV or cinema, aka images. But actually 90% of the time what makes a good documentary is not the images, it's the story you're gonna tell. If your story is strong enough, then you don't need images. It's like a good book. You don't have images in a book, like not since we are kids actually, and it's just the power of imagination that does all the job, and it does it even better than a screen. So that was the starting point of our reflection on Ragnarok. We wanted something that would make the listeners dive in the story, in the Norse mythology, from the beginning to the last minute. And Julie, who wrote the text, did an amazing job for that. She perfectly balanced the historical accuracy and a novel-like narration, if you will. And from the beginning, we were on a good track, I think. I was really confident that we would have this immersion that we were looking for, and we pushed it further in the recording phase, where we asked the host, the different hosts for each language, kind of to put us in a cocoon with their voice. So we would leave the story of these gods through their voice, and it kind of feels like they're telling us the story, like, you know, around a campfire at night, and you're just listening and you're absorbed by the words. You're pulled into the story. And the last but not least part of this project was mixing and editing, and in the podcast world, that's probably the most important part. And here our team did an incredible job using the music of the game of Dawn of Ragnarok to put the podcast, the text in music, the words in music, and also adding sound design. So sometimes you're gonna have a wolf wandering around, and you're gonna have like the sound of his paws on the ground, the sound of his roar, and that's just something. You have the sound of Thor, of his hammer, for example, when he's fighting giants. All of this concourse to create the ambience, the atmosphere that we were looking for an audio documentary.
But obviously, Ragnarok seems to be a concept that a lot of people have at least a rudimentary understanding of. Why do you think that is, or why people find Ragnarok specifically to be interesting?
Yeah, sure. Again, pop culture did a huge deal in our knowledge about this word. Most people know the word now, but they don't necessarily know what's behind it. And there are common misconceptions. Of course, people like associate it with the end of the world, which it is actually, and it's kind of the same concept as the Judgment Day in the Bible. It's the same. There are interconnections between these two visions of the end of the world, and it's really influenced by Christianity. Actually, it's not very Nordic to say, like the flames of hell burning the earth. That's in the Bible. That's the Apocalypse, and it was written like 8 centuries before the Vikings conquered England. So of course there was some influence of Christianity over the conception of Ragnarok. So actually, when we look into Ragnarok, we look into the Christian culture, the Christian text, the Bible, and that's something people don't necessarily know.
Yeah, absolutely. And hearing all the passion that you've had for this project, I think the next logical question is, can we expect more Assassin's Creed related history podcasts to come in the future?
Yeah, sure. I can't say too much now about the content, but we will meet your expectations.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that. We are already developing new podcasts for Ubisoft. But yeah, there will be more Assassin's Creed related podcasts with narrative stories. You're going to know more about history, some facts that you didn't know. You're going to maybe cross the way of some characters, historical figures you might have seen in the games if you are a passionate gamer. So yeah, there's very exciting content on the way. So yeah, stay tuned and keep listening to the Ubisoft's podcast.
I appreciate the expert teasing that you were weaving in and out for. One of the most exciting things for me about Assassin's Creed is this intersection, this interconnection between history and mythology and pop culture. So thank you so much for your time, Clement, for talking with us about this podcast. And if you'd like to listen to all 5 episodes of the Echoes of History podcast, be sure to check them out on your favorite streaming platform.
You want to know more about the Norse gods? A word of warning, you will not be disappointed. I used to be like you. I only knew the superstitions. I worshipped the strength of Thor and Odin and feared Loki's mischief. Who am I? My good friends, my name is Gylfi, King of Sweden. Not the Sweden of today, no. A Sweden from times long past. Like you, one day I decided I wanted to know more about these famous gods who watch us from the sky. So I went to get them myself. I met 3 of them. Their names, High, just as High, and Third. And here's what they told me.
Assassin's Creed Black Flag is easily one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, so I'm incredibly excited to get into our next topic. Eastern Shores await Edwin Kedway in the official sequel webtoon to Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I'm joined by Etienne Bouvier, Transmedia Content Manager for Ubisoft.
Hey Sebastian, nice to be here today.
Thank you so much for joining us. Can you take a moment to quickly tell us a bit about who you are and your role on the project?
Of course. So I think I'm no stranger for people who watched last year's live stream, as I was already talking about our transmedia initiatives. Basically, I'm the one helping our beautiful partners, our beautiful artists, our beautiful writers deliver on good content on the Assassin's Creed franchise. I help coordinate with the production teams, making sure that everything is consistent, and mostly making sure that everything is at the level of quality that we expect on our transmedia projects.
All right, that's amazing. Thank you. So we should probably start with the obvious question. And can you speak about what a webtoon is and where people are able to enjoy them?
Of course, because that's quite a new format, right? But new means exciting, and that's why we were so eager to explore that format. So Webtoon started in Korea a few years ago. It is basically an illustrated format, and very often the artistic direction is close somehow to manga. And so it's a digital illustrated format that you can read by scrolling through your phone on an app. So it's really a vertical format that was designed at first for people to read when they commute to their job, you know. So it started in Korea and now it expands worldwide. You can find webtoon content everywhere in the world. You can read it on dedicated apps, and of course that's where you will find our own Assassin's Creed webtoon.
That's really cool, being able to take Assassin's Creed anywhere on your phone. To your point earlier about Edward being a really well-loved character, so obviously he's a fan favorite due to his charisma and his wit. How do you think the webtoon has been able to capture the spirit of that classic character in a new way?
So Edward, he's that cocky character, very funny. I think he really embodies the free spirit that is, you know, the legacy of the Assassin's Brotherhood. So it was really nice to work with such a character because he brings lots of color to the narrative you develop around him. Also, Edward, he embodies adventure, discovery, and with that project we really wanted to have those thematic pillars at the core of the story. So you see, Edward allows us to have a very character-driven narrative that conveys that sense of adventure. He's always eager also to discover uncharted territories, and since we knew that we wanted to set that story in a completely different area, in a completely new area, Southeast Asia, we were convinced that Edward would be the perfect character to support that story. What's interesting is that the story is set later in his life, so he's a bit older. He is, I'd say, a seasoned character now, and it will be interesting to see how the Edward we knew in Black Flag evolved into that seasoned pirate who still has that taste for adventure and a good fight, of course.
I have one final question that kind of alludes to something you had mentioned earlier when you were teasing. Are you able to share how long the webtoon will be? Like, how long can we expect to sail with Edward again?
So that's something I didn't explain at the beginning, but webtoon, it's a serialized format. It really works like a TV show. So you have a weekly episode launching every week for a long period of time. We plan for the first season to have 40 to 50 episodes. So that's roughly one entire year of content. And that's only the first season, but we really want to have several seasons, probably 3 at least. So if you start reading that story, you know that you're sailing for 3 years, probably, along that storyline and with that character.
Yeah, I guess that's a lot more robust than I was expecting. That is obviously going to be an amazing opportunity to relive this story and to jump back in over the course of the next several years. So I think I speak for a lot of Assassin's Creed fans when I say thank you, Etienne. Being able to sail with Edward once again is going to be super exciting. So keep your eyes peeled. Edward will be back on all webtoon platforms this summer. I'm really eager to speak with our next guest about her experience adapting the Assassin's Creed universe into novels. Kate Hartfield is with us today to discuss The Magus Conspiracy, the first novel in a brand new original trilogy called The Engine of History. These books will be published by Aconite Books, which will be launched this summer in English and shortly after in many other languages.
Very happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. Kate, can you share a bit about yourself and your past work for those who may be unfamiliar? I heard you were recently a Sunday Times best-selling writer from The Embroidered Book.
I was, yeah, that was quite the surprise. Yeah, so The Embroidered Book is my most recent novel. It's about Marie Antoinette and her sister Charlotte, but they're magicians, that's the twist. So that came out in February in the UK and elsewhere and is just about to come out in North America. I've also written a few other books with historical settings and a couple of interactive fiction projects for Choice of Games. So I usually do work in historical settings, and this is my first time writing anything for Assassin's Creed.
That's amazing. So it seems like kind of like a natural evolution, like the next step in this history genre for you. So obviously, as this is the first time writing for Assassin's Creed for this novel, so obviously the time period is incredibly multifaceted. What made 19th century Europe the backdrop for this particular story? Although I suspect that I might know the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, one of the things I think that appealed to us about this period is the rise of assassinations, of political assassinations in the 19th century. So, Queen Victoria had 8 attempts on her life, all of which she survived. Several monarchs were not so lucky. So it was, there were a lot of political turmoil going on in this century, and a lot of assassination, and, power was crumbling in a lot of ways. We had the revolutions in 1848 that swept across Europe, and even though they didn't succeed in all of their aims, everything seemed to be changing and the old structures were falling down. So it seemed like a natural century to explore a little bit more what was going on with the Assassins and Templars during that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the nature of the history obviously brings into question the historical figures of the time. I know Ada Lovelace is a big component of the novel. How present would you say she is, and how meaningful are her contributions to mathematics play in the overall narrative?
Yeah, so Ada Lovelace we know today mostly as sort of the foremother of the modern computer. She's one of the very central figures in the idea of the invention of the computer, and sort of foresaw it in a way with her work with Charles Babbage. But she died very young. She died at the age of 36 in 1851. And my book covers a longer period after that. So she's not around for the entire book, but she's a presence in it. And one thing that I found really interesting about her is because she died so young, and she had already done this incredibly formative work, and she had all kinds of other things on the go and all kinds of other projects, just had an amazing brain. And a lot of her papers were destroyed after she died because she was as scandalous as her father, Lord Byron. So many things were kind of swept under the rug. So there was a lot of scope there to imagine what else she might have been working on and what else she might have done had she lived. So I explore that a little bit in the book.
To your point earlier, you mentioned them being built as very compelling characters. What do you think are the elements that make a compelling Assassin's Creed story?
I do think character is really key to all of the Assassin's Creed stories. There's so much scope to explore complex personalities because assassins are, by their nature, complex. I mean, that's the entire foundation of the creed, is that, nothing is as simplistic as it might appear. Paradox is built right in. So we have the ingredients for interesting characters with internal conflict right there. So I do think that every character that we see in Assassin's Creed is really the foundation of the story. And the two main characters in this book, Simeon and Pierrette, are both complex and have a lot going on and a lot of choices to make. And so I think that's what I found interesting about their story. The other thing that I really love about any Assassin's Creed story, obviously, as you can tell from my background, is that I do love history, and I love being able to work within known history and ask questions about what might have been. And in a novel, you can't really recreate that incredible sense when you play an Assassin's Creed game and you're up on the rooftops and you think, I am actually in Paris. You can't create that sense of immersion, but you can have a different kind of immersion. And so I tried to kind of echo that sense of being there in prose as much as I could.
Amazing. Well, I want to say thank you so much for your time and for your energy, Kate. Novels are able to weave such rich narrative worlds, and I'm thrilled to be able to jump into the story you've created, and a story that you'll be able to pick up in your local bookstores or online retailers very soon.
Thanks so much.
Well, friends, that's it for today. We're working on a bunch of amazing projects, and I hope that something you saw today has sparked excitement for you to go in and explore Assassin's Creed in a different way. I'd like to say a final big thank you to all of our guests. The excitement and insights you've been able to provide us.
Last question, Dr. Dallin. Are you sure the perimeter surrounding the zone is really enough? If a powerful emission were to occur, we would...
Listen, the zone has remained stable for years.
Besides, we didn't establish the most advanced institution in human history without first guaranteeing its safety. As the head of the Scientific Institute for Research of the Chernobyl area, or CIRCA for short, I believe the wonders that we will bring to the world far outweigh the potential risks.
How big are these risks exactly?
The zone reveals a whole new world. We can stick with the old one, fearing change. But tell me, do you want our descendants to remember us as cowards? Or as those who dared to venture forward to a new, better humanity?
Evacuated. I remind our listeners that a similar incident happened in our region quite recently, ruining homes and livelihoods. However, city officials urge people to stay calm, assuring them the situation is totally under control.
And go, oh, I see them, and run out of the. You can create chaos. Like, we don't want to put too many limits on what the player is or isn't allowed to do.
On Xbox Series X and S.
And not just like cause. A lot of, again,
from the creators of one of the world's most popular Battle Royale games. Now, onto our next block, pun intended, of course. Minecraft Legends is the action strategy take on the franchise you never knew you needed. I'm here with Dennis Rees from Mojang Studios, who has just released the world premiere trailer of Minecraft Legends. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Malik.
So happy to have you. I mean, this is a really exciting time for the team. Let's talk Minecraft as a whole, though. That game, I have nothing to back this up, but I feel like everyone on the planet's played.
I only gotta yell, and my brother's
I'm attached to
meets the Muppets.
So we're adding gliders, which is a complete...
I feel very welcome.
Hey, we're just a snippet of Squanch Games, and we're here to talk about High on Life, us, and now, you know,
Yeah, there's an older painting struggle with social change.
This wall went up. Let's check out
your life skills rather than your gamer style, and it reveals something of values and the way they interact, and decide what's going to happen.
others will come.
Now hold your horses, young man. I think you should at least listen to what I have to say.
In the first book, it's mainly structured around a hostage situation in a motel in the middle of the desert in Arizona, so it's a pressure cooker.
You want your wife to live? Answer and do exactly what I say.
Book 2 takes another approach entirely, and it's a chase across multiple states in the US.
There's nowhere else to run.
As Dusk Falls is an interactive show, but the important part here is the word interactive. The players are very much needed to help the character on their journey and decide what's going to happen to them, help them grow and change.
It's not like there's one golden path. There's so many different ways through the story.
You can replay it, and then you get to like different story and different ending, and you feel like you're actually achieving something and shaping the story and also the character.
Some of your true self comes out into that thinking.
I don't know, what would you do? I'll try to, yeah.
And at the end of the game, when you play, we tell you about your playstyle, and it reveals something about the player themselves, their values, and the way they interact with the others that they played with.
I think for me, one of the really important things was that this art style could tell lots of different types of stories. We want to take really beautiful, sort of subtle facial performances, really strong dramatic moments, and just really represent that such that every frame is a painting.
It's a single player and multiplayer experience, so 1 to 8 players.
Because we wanted to draw in people who weren't necessarily gamers. Gamers are going to love this game as well because it's a very mature, in-depth story. But this game really taps into your life skills rather than your gamer skills, puts everyone on a level playing field. You did well there, that is a ferocious job.
I did it. You share the same character, you discuss, you make decisions, and majority wins. It's like each player is like a voice in the character head.
Are you taking the money this time?
I am definitely not.
Take the cash. It's been a massive journey, and I can't believe we're just like so close, touching distance to this game. Yeah, I'm gonna miss it when it's done.
Let's check out what mysteries, adventures, and, of course, slimes are waiting for us in the new, vibrant world of Slime Rancher 2.
All right, time to get going. First trip in a while. Put this in here. Australia. Passport. I need a passport. Where's my passport? Passport. All right. Where's my Uber? All right, let's go. Let's go.
Welcome back to Melbourne. It is so great to be here in person. Get ready for the showcase. Here in Melbourne with FanFest.
We are so excited to tell you all about Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels, the first expansion for Forza Horizon 5. So, Mike, let's start with why the team decided to bring Hot Wheels to Forza Horizon 5's Mexico.
Our fans have been telling us for years about how much they loved Forza Horizon 3's Hot Wheels expansion. So we've been waiting for the right time to bring everyone another Hot Wheels adventure. Forza Horizon 5 presented the perfect opportunity to bring Hot Wheels to life like never before with the power of the Xbox Series X and S.
It really does sound like the perfect time for Forza Horizon and Hot Wheels. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about what to expect being in the clouds of Mexico this time.
Yes, you travel to the clouds above Mexico to visit the Hot Wheels Park, which is comprised of over 200 kilometers of the fastest, most extreme tracks yet. Once there, you'll join the Hot Wheels Academy and set out to take on Forza Horizon's most extreme racing yet and prove yourself a Hot Wheels legend.
Let's go.
As well as the iconic orange Hot Wheels track, you'll take on new driving experiences across gravity-defying magnet tracks, as well as ice, water flume, and rumble tracks.
So we spoke loads about biomes in the build-up to Forza Horizon 5's launch. Are we expecting something similar in Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels as well?
Yes, so we're truly going to see the power of the Xbox Series X and S when we look at Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels' all-new biomes. The amount of detail and diversity that we can pack into the 4 new biomes is breathtaking. We have the rugged Giants Canyon, where you'll hear the growl of your engine bouncing back off the intricately detailed rock formations. The Ice Cauldron, where frozen tundra drips into the glistening molten lava. In Forest Falls, you'll see a tree canopy towering over epic waterfalls. And finally, the visually stunning and exhilarating Horizon Nexus, where the Horizon Festival is suspended among a web of Hot Wheels tracks. And there's more, because new players can jump into Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels as early as possible during the main game's initial experience.
And how are people going to be able to use Event Lab in Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels?
So in Event Lab, you'll have the freedom to design, build, and share using the new Hot Wheels Creation Kit. That's over 80 new track and stunt pieces that instantly snap together thanks to our new building tools. You can then share your creations with the entire community for players to discover and play. We are anticipating our community building an ever-evolving catalogue of new player-created Hot Wheels events that everyone will enjoy.
They all sound absolutely incredible, Mike, but I'm going to ask you the most important question in the room. Can you tell me a bit more about the cars?
Yes, so we have 10 new amazing cars coming to the pack, including 4 new Hot Wheels cars, which have been scaled up to real-life proportions. We have the Diora 2, the Bad to the Blade, the Baja Bone Shaker, and the Chevrolet Hot Wheels Copo Camaro. Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels introduces the most extreme tracks we've seen yet in Forza. So we've added some new extreme track toys and hypercars to go with them.
Love that.
I want to call out the Hennessy Venom F5 and the Mosler MT900 GT3. Their speed is unlike anything we've seen before.
So we know Forza Horizon 5 fans naturally love co-op, so how is that continuing in Hot Wheels?
So, in a first for Forza, you can join up with your friends and play from the very start of the experience in co-op. You and your friends will then take on a new campaign, moving your way up through faster and faster car classes until you unlock the extreme speed of X-Class and become a Hot Wheels legend. You can also choose to take on the world in Horizon Open or team up with your friends to take on a team of drivatars in the Horizon Tour.
Ooh, I absolutely love that. Final question now, though. When can we expect to play?
Yes, so Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels releases on July 19th on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Windows PC and Steam.
Mike, thank you so much for joining me. This has been so much fun and I cannot wait to play.
Now, onto our next block, pun intended, of course. Minecraft Legends is the action strategy take on the franchise you never knew you needed. I'm here with Dennis Rees from Mojang Studios, who has just released the world premiere trailer of Minecraft Legends. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Malik.
So happy to have you. I mean, this is a really exciting time for the team. Let's talk Minecraft as a whole, though. That game, I have nothing to back this up, but I feel like everyone on the planet's played Minecraft at this point. But that wasn't enough for you all. You all went and made Minecraft Dungeons, and now we're moving on to the recently revealed Minecraft Legends. So one, tell me a little bit about what it means for the team to actually be able to reveal the game, and then two, just let us know what Minecraft Legends is.
Well, we are so excited to finally be able to talk about this game.
But we're here at Xbox Fan Fest. We got a whole lot for y'all to check out, so let's get it in.
They asked me what year Halo came out, won this sweet jersey.
I couldn't believe when I was here on site that I would get to meet the real Master Chief.
Experience here, out of this world. It was really cool to see. I'm gonna go get my nails done because they have a nail station and these things need to be painted.
Redfall looks dynamite, and come on, Diablo 4. Oh, it's so, why are you so gruesome? All bloody things. No, but it's great. I love it.
What a day we had today. Thank you everybody for showing up to Xbox Fan Fest Toronto. Had a lot of fun, saw a lot of games, great experiences overall. Catch you in the next one.
Here we come. Are you ready for more? Standing that we got. Coming in real hot. We
all the time, frankly, is Microsoft, is Xbox. It's a business.
Ready, set, go. We coming up next. Yeah, watch this. Yeah, watch this. Right now it's that move. Go and do that thing you do. Turning heads, you make them look. Yeah, they got their eyes on you. Go. We coming up next. Yeah, watch this. I'm not doing like that. Yeah, watch this. I'm not do it like that. Do it like that.
I'm joined now by Sarah Bond, who leads the gaming ecosystem organization here at Xbox. Sarah, it's so great to have you.
It is awesome to be here and so good to see you too.
Yes, I'm super excited for this conversation because as we know, game creators are crucial to Xbox's success. And whenever you talk about them, it's with such passion and tenacity. I love it. And it sounds super important to you and the rest of Team Xbox. So my question to you is, how do creators inspire the work that you and your team do?
The creators are just the bedrock of everything we do on my team. You know, when you really think about it, where gaming really comes from is its industry show. It just feels entirely different and far more poignant and visceral to me. You know, this is a team who's talking about their culture, talking about fighting for the existence of being a nation, of being a people, of having their own language. And now we all, as a world, have gotten to see how tenuous that, in fact, is. And it's an honor, frankly, to be part of this industry and to have the opportunity to uplift their voices and to let their story be told through a gaming experience, especially knowing what we know now about the situation in Ukraine. And as part of that, they actually shared with us something that they wanted us to share with all of you today as part of the show.
Есть.
Здесь кипела работа, идеи, она не останавливалась. 3 месяца назад началась война России с Украиной.
Шок от робочий день починається з тривоги.
Під час сильних обстрілів ми біжимо в укриття.
Це переноска для мого кота, який загинув ще в перший тиждень війни.
Ходишь вечером, сирена, выходишь днем, сирена. Днем еще работать надо, поэтому особо не выйдешь, а вечером все время вот так.
Це моє робоче місце.
Вже 3-й місяць я живу і працюю в коридорі. Зі мною живе одноокий пес, врятований з-під обстрілу в Гостомелі. Зараз мені важко писати квести про війну, коли вона йде навколо.
Так работает в перерывах между сиренами і волонтерськими задачами.
Світ ще побачить, наскільки в нас класна культура і в тому числі, наскільки класні ігри ми можемо робити.
Меня зовут Александр. Я являюсь сотрудником компании ЖСК. Я с Мариуполя. С начала боевых действий была потеряна связь с своими родными и близкими. И это непередаваемое, ужасное чувство, когда ты не знаешь, живы они или нет.
Я Дмитро Ясенєв, розробник сталкера. Ніколи не міг уявити, що в 21 столітті, в центрі Європи, може статися повномасштабна війна.
Я Олексій Іванов, ком'юніті-менеджер проекту Stalker 2. Зі зброєю в руках захищаю свою країну від російської агресії.
Привіт, я Макс, наративний дизайнер гри Stalker 2. Після перемоги я до неї повернуся.
Побачимось на релізі. Слава Україні!
Last question, Dr. Dallin. Are you sure the perimeter surrounding the zone is really enough? If a powerful emission were to occur, we would...
Listen, the zone has remained stable for years. Besides, we didn't establish the most advanced institution in human history without first guaranteeing its safety. As the head of the Scientific Institute for Research of the Chernobyl area, or CIRCA for short, I believe the wonders that we will bring to the world far outweigh the potential risks.
How big are these risks exactly?
The zone reveals a whole new world. We can stick with the old one, fearing change. But tell me, do you want our descendants to remember us as cowards? Or as those who dared to venture forward to a new, better humanity?
Evacuated. I remind our listeners that a similar incident happened in our region quite recently, ruining homes and livelihoods. However, city officials urge people to stay calm, assuring them the situation is totally under control.
Welcome to IGN's post-show here of the Xbox Extended Showcase. I'm supposed to read you a fancy, upbeat thing in the teleprompter, but boy, what a closer to that Extended Showcase, that incredible profile of the Stalker 2 development team. Ryan McCaffrey, Miranda Sanchez, Stella Chung, we are your Podcast Unlocked panel. We bring Xbox chatter to you each and every week. You know, we were going to start with 2023 games because on the showcase in our live show after that, we talked about, okay, now we know what Xbox's 2022 looks like. We never got around to talking about 2023, so we're going to do that. Let's start with Stalker 2. I mean, Miranda, your reaction to that incredibly moving and powerful profile of that development team and their displaced lives and some of the teams staying behind to fight the invasion.
Yeah, I mean, for my own mental health, I've been trying to avoid too many detailed imagery, and I think that it was nice of them to give a very firm warning of hey, this might be disturbing, and because it is, it's really hard to see that. It's impressive that this team is still working in corridors and basements amid bombings, and it's really, really tough to see that. And I think it's good of Microsoft to align with them and make sure that's something, because that's a message they want to share, and the fact that they were able to get that and put that in front of their game, and I don't know how they do it, honestly. It's just very impressive, and of course, and we're gonna say it a billion times, but our hearts go out to them and just all the strength that we can give them, and it's just too hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, Stella, your quick thoughts.
Yeah, I was surprised by how emotional I got watching that.
Me too.
I'm sure that I'm just just take your time. Don't work on the game. Just focus on your safety. But I'm sure a lot of them are well, this is what keeps me going. This helps me take myself out of the space that I'm currently in. And one of the narrative designers were saying, it's really hard to write about,
violent quests.
Yeah, exactly. Violent quests while there's a war going on around them. So, yeah, and how confidently the last guy was we'll win this war and we'll be right back on the game. And I'm oh my God, I cannot imagine being in this situation. So, yeah.
Well, the game had been delayed indefinitely when the war began, and now they are confidently saying they're going to get it done next year. So we wish them all the best. We have more 2023 games we're going to talk about here. There was plenty of good stuff. Before we dig in, just a reminder that IGN's Summer of Gaming is popping off all over June. So the rest of this month, you can catch it everywhere IGN is. So maybe you're watching us on IGN.com, Twitch, YouTube, IGN One on your smart TV. Now apparently we even have a Steam page that you can watch us there. That's pretty cool. Tons of events, tons of coverage, and of course tons of surprises all month long. So let's get back to where we left off. The Extended Showcase was exactly what it was advertised to be, a deeper dive into what was shown on Sunday, but a couple tiny new reveals, which is fine. So with our expectations were met. Let's take a look at what we have to look forward to. Again, the first half of 2023, which included some of the games in this Extended Showcase. So we talked extensively about Starfield on our last show, so I feel like we've kind of covered that. Redfall, I know, Miranda, you've got a little surprise for us later on in this showcase.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about that, and we'll have more on Redfall after this sometime this week, TBD, but it's gonna be good.
We'll also have more on Diablo 4. Our own Mitchell Saltzman sitting down with a friend of the show, Rod Ferguson. And then Forza Motorsport, which I was hoping we'd see a real deep dive on in this Extended Showcase, because it could end up being the prettiest car game ever made. At least it'll take that championship belt for a little while, which I think maybe Horizon 5, its own cousin game, has that belt right now. I mean, Gran Turismo 7's real nice looking too. But, I'll kind of throw it out to either one of you. I know Lightyear Frontier, actually, Stella, that jumped out at you on Sunday.
Yeah, because for the longest time, well, not the longest time, I don't know. Whenever season 2 or 3 of Love, Death, and Robots came out, there was actually an episode like that where, there was these farmers, they kind of took care of their own farm, but also held off alien invasions with their own homemade mech suits. And so it was incredible, and I was like, how cool would an RTS game or a simulator game be? And my boyfriend and I were talking about that. We're like, how could we make this game? We're just can we pitch this to someone? And then Lightyear Frontier comes out, and I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. Are you kidding me? I can have my own farm, handle all these things. But I'm not gonna lie, the biggest pull to this is definitely the mechs. And I don't know if that's my love for Titanfall, but like, listen, we don't have Titanfall 3, so look.
Any sort of mech, anything is appealing, whether it's you're fighting or you're, cultivating a farm. It's really nice. I think one of my favorite things that after kind of the advent of Stardew Valley is we saw all these different kinds of like town simulators and farming simulators. And of course, there's been a lot that have been around for a very long time, but you've seen so many new, cool, creative things like this come out. I think just like the simulation space in general is just really interesting.
Yeah.
And so seeing this take was just delightful.
It's
like,
so cute.
What if farmers got a hold of some like
oh my god
mechs and then just converted them to do farming? What a great idea for a game.
Yeah.
I love the art style on this too, Stella.
Yeah, and instead of saying lift with your back, you can say lift with your mech, right? yeah. Sure, it saves you so many injuries. Like, come on.
Yeah, this was a fun surprise. So again, a reminder, like everything we're talking about, this is all first half. This one's spring for Lightyear Frontier. First half of 2023, because the main showcase was the next 12 months. So from now through the first half of next year. Yeah. So just to go through the list real fast before we dive into some individual games, it was again Starfield, Redfall, Diablo 4. We'll come back to that one. Forza Motorsport, Minecraft Legends, a surprise announcement, Ark 2, the aforementioned Lightyear Frontier, The Last Case of Benedict Fox, which was a really gorgeous-looking platformer, Erebon Shadow Legacy, Ravenlock, Cocoon, Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which almost made my prediction from the pre-show come true. We did get a new Team Ninja game, but it's not Ninja Gaiden, but it looks like it's got some Ninja Gaiden influences. And then Flintlock was in there as well. So, Miranda, let me throw to you. Of those, so that's our first half of 2023 on Xbox. What jumped out at you of that on that list?
It's hard not to say the Bethesda games. You gotta say Starfield. Like for me, at least, I'm a huge space fan. I love Mass Effect. I love just like that alternate kind of gritty future that Bethesda and has specifically proposed with Fallout 4. I love that. So when they're like, hey, but what if we do our space take? And I was like, yes. And so seeing Starfield, it's hard not to say Starfield. Of course, also Redfall. If I had to choose outside of those, I think it would be for next year, because I would say High on Life was my other like standout of the show, but that's not next year. Thankfully, it's this year.
That was included in the extended showcase. It's always fun to see Justin Roiland just chopping it up.
Yeah.
And I'm with you though. Like High on Life looked. And I know I'm making our production guys nuts by now switching gears. We'll come back to Starfield in a second, but yeah, High on Life was. I think all three of us were like,
oh my God.
It just stood out, didn't it?
I think we need a fun, silly game like that, where the guns give you sass back. Like, remember that gun was still like, oh, those are my kids. They die quickly. It's easy to make more. And I'm like, hello? How is that? This is amazing.
Yeah. And then, to circle back to Starfield and to tease our own show, I got to, so after watching the showcase with everyone on Sunday, I got to jump on the phone with Todd Howard yesterday, and we have that interview for you coming up later in this show. So that's how I'm trying to bribe you to keep watching, because I can genuinely say I had a bunch of questions, follow-ups based on what we saw from the gameplay reveal.
Cool.
And he did not duck anything. So he had answers to everything. He talks about the main quest length. He talks about the major cities, like we saw New Atlantis in the presentation. So there's my teaser. Stay tuned for that. It's about 18 to 20 minutes long. We'll have that for you later on. But circling back to 2023, I guess, Miranda, let me allow you to gush about Redfall before we get to that interview later, because I know that's very high on your list.
Yes, I love vampires. I love vampires of all kind. I love the pretty ones. I love the horrifying, monstrous ones. I'm very excited for Nosferatu, that movie that's coming out eventually.
Oh.
But I think what I was looking for here, and everyone kept saying, it's like, oh, Arcane's trying to do Left 4 Dead, or they're trying to do, oh gosh, what's it called?
Back 4 Blood or
Borderlands, Back 4 Blood. Like, there's so many things that are like, oh, they're trying to do this. I'm like, guys, it's still Arcane. Like, when I saw a lot of the cinematic trailer before, I was like, oh, I see how this plays out. It's just Arcane down with friends, and you're gonna have a
gives me chills. every time.
IGN's Summer of Gaming 2022 is sponsored by Metro by T-Mobile and by The Terminal List. Watch the action-filled psychological thriller starring Chris Pratt only on Prime Video.
Up being like the big fall 2023 game. And yes, we're gamers, we like to look ahead to things. I know we're not even to fall 2022 yet. But the notable no-shows, Hellblade 2, Perfect Dark, State of Decay 3, Fable, Avowed, The Outer Worlds 2, Gears 6, which yes, I realize is technically unannounced, Everwild, Contraband, remember that one? The Avalanche game from last year? And then also unannounced, but could not possibly be more heavily rumored thanks to the leaked achievements, the GoldenEye remake. So that's a lot of games that we know about that are still, that we just have not had updates from in either of these last two, 3 hours worth of showcases. So which are most disappointing omissions? Announced 3 lists. Our first
Studio headlines.
Starfield, Avowed, and I think I'm still leaving games out. I think there were more. That's like 5 very high profile RPGs that are going to be exclusive to Xbox, which is pretty wild. But yeah, so Hellblade 2, and I'm going with Avowed, and if one more sneaks in there, I don't know. I mean, I'd happily take any of them.
State of Decay.
But no, I think it's too early for. I feel like Fable, and I also feel like they're probably not going to want to ship more than 2 of these big RPGs in one calendar year.
That's fair. Please spare Miranda.
We got it. It's fine.
But yeah, State of Decay 3 would be great. I'm a big fan of that series, and I really hope 3 brings it the polish and triple A-ness that the series has needed. All right, we need to take another very quick break, but when we return, we're talking all about Diablo 4, one of my most anticipated games of next year, with the head of the Diablo franchise, Rod Ferguson. So stick around because IGN's Summer of Gaming will be right back after this.
IGN's Summer of Gaming 2022 is presented by The Callisto Protocol on PlayStation, coming December 2nd, 2022. Pre-order now. And by the U.S. Army. You can choose from over 200 career paths that match your passion on GoArmy.com. What's your warrior?
In a world with non-stop news about Marvel, Netflix, and Star Wars, you need a show with accurate reporting, hard-hitting commentary, and me. I'm Akeem Lawanson, the host of The Fix Entertainment. Whether it's the latest superhero scoop, film fiasco, or anime announcement, I'll be right here covering all the latest in major studio headlines and pop culture news. Make sure to catch The Fix Entertainment wherever you watch IGN.
Summer of...
Speaking of... And so there's certain dungeons you can go to that kind of it changes all the time, so you can actually target what kind of loot you're after. And so that change really allows me, again, agency as a player to say, oh, I'm trying, what's really weak about my build right now are my gloves. So what dungeons are dropping gloves right now, and I can go and work on that dungeon. Can you go into a little bit of detail about how the loot has changed?
Yeah, as you said, loot is really a key component of any Diablo game, right? And we think that the legendary powers really bring a level of